But a lot of Pokemon fans don't trust Pokemon anymore, and they're like, new Pokemon bad, old Pokemon good.
Pokemon was at its peak when you were a child.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
That's right.
Welcome back to the Multitap Chat. Is Nintendo getting better or worse? It depends on who you ask at this table.
Worse.
And yeah, we're going to determine who here is nostalgia blind.
It's worse.
And who of us is the other three people sitting at this table.
They suck now.
Guys, welcome to the Multitap Chat here. What do you guys think about this idea of nostalgia blindness?
You're nostalgia blind.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think about it.
Yeah.
I actually wrote about my state of nostalgia blindness.
Okay, right. Yeah.
On this piece of paper here.
Okay,
Take a look. See this? Both sides?
right. Is it blank?
It's completely blank because I'm not
Blank.
nostalgia blind at all. All right, folks? I
yeah.
don't have an ounce of it in me. Ounce of it, 2 ounces, 3 ounces. 0 ounces of nostalgia blindness.
Why do I have 3 ounces?
You got. If you sass me again, you'll have 5. Okay, I'll keep upping
What
that
a
number.
strange
He's giving
threat.
you a nostalgia blindness because he has so much to give out.
He has so much to give out.
Okay.
Now, I will say, somebody at this table once said, old game, new game, no stop.
This is true, but that's
So-
not nostalgia blindness.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just true.
That's just true.
It's just true. It's just a fact.
Of course, everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that Ty has said it well in the past, that like if you're able to articulate the logical reasons you think something is better, just because it's old.
Do not
Doesn't.
quote me without my permission.
Quote you to you.
Yeah,
I'm quoting you to you.
Exactly.
Well-
No, yeah, if you can articulate something, you're probably not blind. Just like if I can describe to you how a painting
yeah.
looks in front of me, I'm probably not blind. I can probably see that painting.
True. Or your Daredevil.
Or
He couldn't describe like color. He
he'd
could
be like,
Oh,
it's
true.
a fiery painting of that's the Mona Lisa.
He's a little nostalgia
Yeah, he's a
blind.
little nostalgia
But you
blind.
could
Yeah.
regurgitate someone's description if you were blind. If someone was
That
like,
is correct.
was like,
It's
and
not a
now tell
perfect-
him the painting is
it's not a
red, white,
perfect
and blue.
illustration.
Right?
So if someone's
Yeah.
opinion is really like well worded, it's
that
like you are
person-
nostalgia
Well,
blind.
no, but you know-
someone's just off screen.
I think that's just the
telling
equivalent
you.
of like someone just regurgitating like a YouTuber's opinion.
That's what I was just about to say.
They watch this video and
Well,
they'll say whatever
and this
we
is
say.
and this is the problem.
And feel
boys.
free.
This is the
Right.
problem is that I've had this happen a million times where you say something and you're obviously right, and anyone
Right.
who dispute you is a moron, and then you hear them talking, you're like, you're not saying that. You've never played Gex 3, right? You've never played Gex 3.
Yeah.
You've watched a YouTuber
Yeah.
called Come Adventure with Gaming.
Yeah,
Okay. Talk about how actually
Come
video-
Adventure with Gaming, big friend of the channel. We'd love to have him on.
Yeah, we hope to have you on, Big, the guy from
Big
Big.
the guy.
All right.
Yeah.
They say, well, actually, Gex 3, since that's happened, gaming has gotten better. You never played Gex 3.
Clearly,
You
they
don't-
have never had premarital.
Look,
Gex.
They've never had premarital
Look,
Gex. They're just listening to Big.
This is really
You
on
know?
point discussion.
Really
here.
on point.
So-
Look, we're not here to
Yeah.
throw any accusations
I am.
at the most nostalgic blind people in the world.
Right.
We're here to discuss the what is nostalgia blindness.
Well, I think-
and how can you insulate yourself against it.
Yeah.
And I am the only one qualified to speak on this matter.
Okay.
And Harrison is also here.
Well, I think that something that like more recent releases that are a good example is Mario Wonder's getting a DLC update.
Yeah.
And
Perfect game.
that's
Very
my
nostalgic about that.
that's my well, actually, Quentin's kind of hitting on the point is that like
Yeah.
like that's my favorite side-scrolling Mario game, and it's getting an update. Pokemon Winds and Waves just got announced, and actually some fans are pretty excited. I've got a buddy who is very excited about it, big Pokemon fan, but a lot of Pokemon fans don't trust Pokemon anymore, and they're like, new Pokemon bad, old Pokemon good.
Yeah, they're right.
And so
They're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right.
As I have said
Harrison is
before,
here.
Pokemon was at its peak when you were a child.
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That's right.
And just
Whenever you're a
blanket that
child.
statement
Yeah.
across all of us. Yeah.
That's just how it works.
Well, and that's what I'm curious
Pokemon
about.
peaked with Pokken, where it just was Tekken.
Yeah. Well, because I think it's interesting that you could argue that, like, that you're nostalgia blind if you only like Mario Wonder because Mario's in it. Like if you take Mario out, I don't like the game anymore. Okay, well that's nostalgia blindness.
Yeah.
If you're like, well, new Pokemon's bad, but I have no reason to say that. I just like old Pokemon. That could be nostalgia blindness. And so I'm curious, like, is the current state of those two franchises a case of nostalgia blindness? What do you think?
I mean, like, it depends on what you think about those two franchises, right? Like, if your opinion is that like Mario Wonder is flawless and can do no wrong, you probably have a little bit of nostalgia blindness. Or if you think that it's a trash game that has no value and only Mario 3 is any good, you're correct. No, it's also probably nostalgia blindness. And for like Pokemon, if maybe you love the new Pokemon because it has the word Pokemon in the title. Yeah.
To be clear, Winds and Waves is not out yet. It was announced.
But if you can articulate why is new Pokemon not good. And, when Pokemon came out, there was nothing else like it. It was nothing on the Game Boy that could match the amount of content in terms of like the collectathon style, the RPG mechanics. It was revolutionary. Fast forward to today, there are tons of games that look, play, and sound better than Pokemon. Sure. That is people's problem. So a comparative analysis of those two makes it pretty clear why the old ones were good and the new ones aren't. And I think if that's your reasoning, there's no nostalgia blindness there. You're going in with both eyes open, and you have sound reasoning. I think if you look at something like Mario Wonder and you articulate that the stage design is excellent, the physics and the way that the characters move feels really solid. They're very responsive. I think if it wasn't a Mario 2D platformer, if it was a Rayman game, if it was a Donkey Kong game, it would still be phenomenally fun. It takes all of those things that were fun about old games and it just updates them. It is a very nostalgic game. And any 2D platformer that plays like it, even if it were a new IP, would be nostalgic for the simple reason that you played games that are like that as a child.
Right.
And so recognizing that, it is a game that you can't really divorce entirely from nostalgia, but being nostalgic for something doesn't necessarily make you blind. I think nostalgia, I'm gonna have a hot take, my spicy red hot take.
Give me your
nostalgia
hot take, and then I want to toss it to Harrison for a question.
Underrated.
Nostalgia's underrated.
Nostalgia's underrated.
Oh,
Here's the thing.
brother.
Nostalgia has become a 4-letter word because oftentimes we see nostalgia as an excuse for a lack of quality. If you have nostalgia, you don't have to try hard and make something good. However, if you have something that is really good and at the same time is also nostalgic, that's just a bonus. And it's a good thing. It can be a very positive experience as long as it doesn't diminish the other aspects of what you're making. I played a really great JRPG, not from a Japanese studio, called Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
An FRPG, if you will.
Yes. It harkens back to old school turn-based RPGs in so many mechanics. It has an overworld map.
A lot of people say it's Paper Mario battle system.
It has that interactive kind of old school battle system.
I'm pretty sure exactly one person has said that Clair Obscur has Mario, Paper Mario, it was me, this guy right here.
And I am correct.
I've never played
But here's the thing: regardless of anything, it is very nostalgic for people in its mechanics,
in its design.
But there's nothing, but that enhances that experience because the things it's harkening back to are things that I think for most people are genuinely good things. They're things that are worth keeping around.
Sure.
So the nostalgia only serves to amplify the experience in that case. It's when nostalgia's all you got. I do think that's part of Pokemon is that like, oh my gosh, look, Pikachu is HD now. My favorite Pokemon is rendered in 3D. And that's kind of all it has.
Yeah, I have a point.
A nostalgia of gameplay versus nostalgia of aesthetic.
Yeah, and even nostalgia. I mean, I love things that look like, if I watched an anime that looked like anime looked like in the 90s, I'd be tickled pink.
Sure.
Because much of that animation was done by hand.
I'm going to say that
that's not bad nostalgia.
I don't agree with that, what you just said, and it mostly comes down to the fact that it's sort of like saying, like, Well, it looks like an anime from the past, but it's not an anime from the past, and it's not going to look exactly the same. They're not going to do it fully by hand because it's too expensive and takes too long, and so on and so forth.
What if
and
they
so
do?
and so guess what? They're going to imitate the style, which they've done a million times. This goes with gaming, this goes with anime, this goes with every other medium. And guess what? It doesn't look like that. It looks like some kind of weird skinwalker that approached and said it was your dad and is begging you to let it in through the window. It's not real. If you look at take any anime is one of the worst examples where it's trying.
Well, that's why I said
it's trying.
I agree that anime has not done
But
that.
when video
I think
games
have.
When video games try to take something that I love and they try to hollow it out and wear its skin, okay?
Yeah.
No, I don't want that. I don't want anything like that.
I felt similar when I saw Rayman in that new TV show or whatever it was. The Ubisoft,
Captain Laserhawk.
Yeah, where Rayman was like a drug addict and like a drunk, and I was like, why make Rayman that way?
He was actually the okay. So I actually watched that show. He was actually the best part.
But that's nothing in that. It's every bit of his character.
He was
is
the only character that had an arc.
Yeah, but that's not why make it Rayman.
No, I get that.
Yeah,
he's not really Rayman. He is
a skin suit Rayman. That
yeah,
is describing.
He's Yarman.
But
Yarman.
Here's my thing though. If I take a great game like The Messenger, and I showed it to you and told you that it came out in 1992 and not in just a few years ago, and you didn't know that, would that make the game? You wouldn't be able to tell when the game was made.
I do not agree. I think I would be able to tell because as someone who has played many games on Steam.
You tossed a theoretical to Quentin. He's never.
No, you tossed a theoretical toward me that's a bad one to send to me. You could send it to just about anybody else, but I have played dozens, and I'm not kidding when I say dozens of retro-style games that are beloved.
Mm-hmm.
And they are absolutely not actually like retro-style games. And
I think if I did a blind test on you, if I find an old game that you've never heard of, and I find a new game that you've never heard of, and I defy you to pick which one was
like
actually
a
made.
Pepsi
No, I think
kind of
give
fun.
it enough time.
I don't think you would.
Well, the
I'm
reason I say
curious-
is play a game like Crow Country, which is it's a sort of classic style horror game. And you'll find that it has many modern luxuries, and that's not even a criticism. But I actually saw a breakdown of a recent game that's about a frog. It's a platformer about this frog character.
Caro 64.
Caro 64, and what was interesting about it, it interviewed several of the developers, and one of the things that they brought out was this looks like an old game. It has a lot of the same sort of callbacks, aesthetics, but it's not an old game.
Right.
Yeah.
The way that they handled the actual programming and the quality of life stuff is not like an old game.
But there's still the game is still nostalgic because it's the aesthetic.
When this guy plays it, I'm sure he'll feel real good about it.
I have played
but the
it.
fact of the
I've
matter
mentioned
is
it on the channel. Yeah.
the fact of the matter
that
is that it's not.
Troubles
I
you.
would be able to tell.
That troubles you. And
Yeah, I
Caro
would be able to
64
tell.
for sure.
I don't think I'm tricked into it, but I want to ask Harrison here because the resident Pokemon boy is that do you think Pokemon as a series is getting worse? And if you can you articulate why you give your reason?
Yeah, no, I think it has been getting worse. I think that it has been getting worse since it switched to 3D. I think X and Y was the first bad Pokemon game, and the reason why maybe not X and Y, I don't know. But I'm probably going to be angering some Pokemon fans out there because I know Sun and Moon is
you always will.
Sun and Moon is some people's favorite Pokemon
especially
game.
the re-release of it. I think what was it? Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think are pretty
that's
well
technically
loved.
the third game. Yeah, they're really well loved, but I'm about to make an accusation that it doomed the franchise.
Okay,
but
let's hear it.
So Pokemon as a series has been each generation they add more and more features that sort of improve the game's quality of life. Generation 2 introduced the concept of Pokemon having shinies and a gender and breeding Pokemon, and that's been a key aspect for the series as a franchise.
Kind of a core element, I would say. Yeah.
Each Pokemon generation sort of adds stuff that carries on, but with Pokemon X and Y, it introduced Mega Evolutions, and Mega Evolutions were a fine concept. They're pretty fun, but with Sun and Moon that came afterwards, got rid of Mega Evolutions. And since then, every Pokemon generation has introduced its gimmick. Like Mega Evolution, I thought it was here to stay.
Right.
No, it's just a gimmick for X and Y.
Yeah.
And well, they brought it back. I don't know what that's about, but like then they're like, okay, well, Sun and Moon has the Z action. That's Sun and Moon's gimmick.
Yeah.
Here's why you need to buy Sun and Moon, so you can experience Z action.
Yeah.
Okay, Scarlet and Violet. No, not Scarlet and Violet. Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
It's got the
First Switch ones.
I don't even remember what
Big
it was
O
called.
mode.
The Big O mode.
Big O mode,
Gigamaxing.
Yeah.
That sounds
They
horrible.
just get really big.
Gigamax sounds like a subscription service, a naughty subscription
It
service.
Yeah,
Sounds like a
exactly,
Gen
right.
Z term
Yeah.
or Gen Alpha term.
It does.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is they got really stale, but then
They've
just
gotten
keep
stale.
coding it with a different.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I think it's lost a lot of its charm. Like, I think that like Pokemon as a franchise, like it was a handheld game that had like it sort of like RPG Maker vibes. Like it felt like Dragon Quest. Like
I mean,
Well,
a
and
Dragon
to
Quest
add on to that is
knockoff.
that you look at like the GBA games,
yeah.
the visuals of those games will age perfectly
Yeah.
forever.
they were
you look
also
at the-
on par with other games of the era.
Of course, you
Yeah.
look at the Switch games, they look like
Yeah.
crap. And
Yeah.
But they did
they're
when
never-
they came out.
But well, sure.
And they also
but,
did
when
but,
they came out,
But
yeah.
the problem with a lot of the sort of later eras in gaming is that they will not, under any circumstances, age as well.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
They won't.
And-
They just simply won't.
Most 3D games don't.
And I say, like, I make the joke that like Pokemon was at its peak when you were a kid, but like I think a lot of people, when you ask them like what was the best Pokemon generation, it was like the generation that was around when they were
When they
like
were young.
10 years old,
Yeah,
10 or
sure.
11.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I was born in 1998, so like 2008, that was, I think that was like Black and White
Mhm.
or Diamond and Pearl.
Something
And like
around there,
that's
yeah.
Diamond and Pearl is like my favorite Pokemon generation.
Which
Because
is
that's
why
when I
I
was
think
a
a lot
kid.
of people throw that term nostalgia
Yeah.
blind at Pokemon fans specifically.
Yeah.
Is because they see a big sea of them and they're like, if you grew up with Red and Blue, your
Yeah.
favorite is Red and Blue.
I was born in
Yeah.
'88, and my favorite Pokemon game is Dragon Quest
Yeah.
4.
See? Nostalgia
Um,
blind.
But I think that like while I am nostalgia blind, where I think that Pokemon was at its peak when I was a kid, I think there is a very clear like mark where you can tell like, okay, the game series has kind of gone downhill from there because it is relying on things like gimmicks to sell games.
Well, and I think too I think Super Mario Brothers specifically is a good comparison point with what you're saying because you're articulating the logical reasons, like what Ty brought out earlier, is that you're not just saying, you're willing to admit that your
Yeah.
favorite is your favorite because you grew up with it.
I think Black and White was probably the last good Pokemon game, but I've never played it.
but it's not your favorite, right?
Yeah, I've never played it, so
And
I can't
like,
say it's my favorite.
with Super Mario Brothers, I think that like a point that sometimes people miss is, you know, Ty, you said that like nostalgia is overrated or underrated, and like it can be good. I almost missed your whole point.
I was about to say,
yeah.
But I think sometimes people confuse nostalgia with familiarity. Like that something feeling familiar can feel nice, and sometimes you want something to feel unfamiliar. Like with Splatoon, I think that it was a good call to not just make it a Mario game. Like Nintendo was like, don't make it Mario, make it a new franchise. It felt good that everything in Splatoon felt fresh and new because the gameplay was so unusual, and it was so not, it wasn't a typical shooter game.
Yeah.
But then like I think with Super Mario Brothers Wonder, I do think that we're in an era where 2D Mario is getting better, because even though I'm a huge Mario fan, I can admit that the new Super Mario Brothers games were an example of 2D Mario in decline.
they were leaning a little too heavily on nostalgia.
Yeah, the first one
You
was
know?
good. Like the first one was a good idea.
Yeah, it was a nice
neat
throwback game.
because it was like Mario behaves like 3D Mario and the world is 3D Mario, but it plays like 2D Mario.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Wii came out, it was cool to have the 4 players, but the style still felt it instantly, at least in my opinion, felt a little stilted because we just came off of Galaxy, which at the time, even
Very
though it wasn't
innovative.
HD, it was innovative and its visuals were so stunning. New Super Mario Brothers, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool, but it's not Super Mario World. Like, Super Mario World has a visual identity of its own, just like Mario Brothers 3 did.
Yeah.
And so then when they hit New Super Mario Brothers 2 on the 3DS, again, it's a good game. I think it's probably an underrated game because people trash it so much, but it's still not as good as prior Mario Brothers
Of course,
games.
to remind everyone, that's the game where their big gimmick was that everything
Money.
is a coin.
Everything is made of money.
Everything is a coin. Guess what?
Yeah.
You want coins?
So
Good.
do we.
So
Buy
do
our
we.
game.
Good news. We're in
right.
agreement here.
Well, and then New Super Mario Bros. U was very long in the tooth, and then New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on the Switch, and then they made
yeah.
it 4K.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
New
that's
Super
so
Mario
funny.
Brothers U for the deluxe edition.
Deluxe
for the
edition.
Switch.
It's a
But
lot.
when I
Now
first
with Funky
saw
Kong
Nintendo
mode.
are they're so stupid. Everyone there,
Yeah.
they're just like
featuring Funky Mode.
What if,
And
what
Knuckles.
if what if we took this Nintendo Wii U game, right? It's already got Wii and U in the
And
name, but we
U
got to make it into the
Deluxe,
Nintendo Switch,
Super
right?
Hyper
So
Mega
let's
Edition.
make it the Nintendo Switch
They
U edition.
they cannot make a Switch 2 version of that. It cannot be New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe
Watch,
for
they will.
Nintendo Switch 2.
They will.
They 100% will.
No, but I
brother.
remember when I first saw Super Mario Brothers Wonder in the I believe it was unveiled in a June Direct, like in the summer.
Yeah.
And like the extremely expressive visuals, it has like this very distinct style. It changed a lot about the Mario Brothers formula in the sense that now it's more like Donkey Kong Country because there's no time limit and they want you to explore levels.
Mario has a different voice actor.
Kevin Afghani, and he killed it. See, I'm not nostalgia blind. Martinet was better, but Afghani's doing a good job. I'm not mad that he's
His
here.
name is Kevin Afghani.
Afghani.
I've
yeah.
never heard of this guy.
His
How do
name-
you spell that?
Kevin Afghani when
Ooh, you
Matt
spell it like
Pakistani
this.
walks in.
Yeah.
Oh,
You spell it like this.
Not
Oh,
Mac
God.
No, so
Pakistani.
I do
what?
think I can I do think if you look at Mario Brothers Wonder, it's the first, in my opinion, it's the first 2D Mario game that had the same amount of creativity and spontaneity and unique identity as a 3D Mario game.
Yeah.
Because you go from Mario World to Mario 64, and we just didn't see 2D Mario again until New Super Mario Brothers, but it was just like, oh, we'll make more New Super Mario Brothers, but that the games were not experimental, or especially with the Wonder effects.
Yeah.
So I think that to kind of wrap it up, Harrison made a really good, articulate point as to why Pokemon's going down. And I think if you can articulate why you think something's getting better or worse, then the idea that you're just buying into it for nostalgia, it doesn't make any
Well, I
sense.
mean, you
I'm
can
very-
enjoy. The thing is, you can enjoy any, and you should, audience, enjoy anything you want. You don't have to justify it to anybody else.
No.
The time when you have to justify it to anybody else is when you want to convince somebody else that it's good. If I like something because it's fun,
Oh, yeah, sure.
I can enjoy that. That's fine.
sure.
But I can't tell you that because that will never equate to your experience. I have to be able to articulate to you why it's fun. So if you want to recommend things to others, that's when you need to recognize your own biases.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
and I'm
And
very
biases.
aware of my own biases with nostalgia because if you think about well, what is it that I like about this game, and if you keep coming back to where I was in life at the time,
Yeah,
that's
it's just
nostalgia.
so cool.
That's nostalgia.
It's just
Yeah.
so much better, and you can't really put your finger on.
you know
Oh
what?
yeah,
Yeah.
I really
Mhm.
loved Pokemon
Okay, sure.
Generation
Yeah.
4 because I had so much time. Well, I had so much time because I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna
Imagine
say,
if you just made a big blanket statement, like old game is good and new game is bad.
They're really
You'd be an
picking on
idiot.
you, Quinn.
You'd be
You
a
know, here's the
nostalgia
thing.
idiot.
I'm going to disagree entirely, by the
But
way.
he's not.
Yeah.
You'd be an idiot,
hey-
but you're not. You're a right idiot.
You're a
You are
right
correct.
idiot.
Yeah, I am correct.
Yeah.
But here's the
Well,
thing.
is
Here's
he?
the thing. What Ty said, excuse me, audience, what Ty said about how you should just, enjoy what you want to and that's
Yeah.
fine. He's wrong. He's dead wrong, buddy. Okay? Get ready for the raw eggs because I've got your address. Ooh, look at my address book. It's in my pocket in here, and I've got all your addresses. Final Fantasy VII happened. And then guess what? You got it again. And then you got it again, and you got more, and you got a movie, and you got a re-release of the
Final Fantasy VII is alive, and Osama bin Laden is dead.
You know what?
True.
I'm not going to make any comments about that.
Go down to the comments. Tell us what you think about nostalgia blindness. Are Nintendo series getting better? And explain why they are, because obviously they are.
Tell us about your experience with nostalgia blindness and vote for which of us. Give us all ratings on our nostalgia blindness.
You know,
give us points.
Give us
ounces.
Subscribe.
All of you should be prosecuted